Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Toe Tags Metal Reviews, and today we're giving you guys a review of 9 by Bleeding Through. So this album came out last week, and we spent this entire week listening to it to give you guys our full and final thoughts of this album. And I'm going to start with the first song that I made any notes about for our review, which is Dead But So Alive. This song has everything. I feel like the energy, brutality, the hook is awesome with the female vocals coming in at the end. It's such a complete package of a song. You talk about songs that basically kind of give you everything. Songs like Divine by All That Remains, songs like Unsainted by Slipknot. This does a lot of similar stuff as to those songs do. They have everything you could want all in one amazing package. Like, loved that song. Every time it came on, like, yeah, this is so cool. Just thoroughly loved it. And I know you made a comment last week about what could have been the opening track. The opener is Gallows, but you were saying that Our Brand Is Chaos would be an effective opener. Dead But So Alive could have probably been a good opener as well.
I agree, it could have been. I just think Gallows wasn't the choice. There's many other songs on this album that I think could have been an opener.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dead But So Alive would have been a great opener. I agree.
That would have such a sick way to open an album. I don't think Gallows is necessarily a bad opening track, but a song like Dead But So Alive or Our Brand Is Chaos probably would have been more
just better choices, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not like that it's bad, it's just there is better. I think Our Brand Is Chaos, it's a really good punch in the face kind of song, like a huge explosive statement that we are here and this is the album. So I think that's pretty cool. Just the fuck with us and find out line is awesome. Love that. It's such an evil sounding song. And I think that's pretty cool. It's also really cool to think that, a song like that and a song like Dead But So Alive are basically back to back. Like, this album has so much range to it. There's a lot of really cool melodic stuff, a lot of catchy stuff, and there's also some just brutal, evil stuff on there. And, I made the comment that, it reminded me a lot of the sound that Carnifex is really known for. And I'm pretty sure either it was you or a comment was saying that, I think someone at Carnifex said that Bleeding Through is one of their inspirations. And that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I mentioned that, yeah.
It was, yeah.
I don't know if that's a fact. It's just, it feels like it lines up that way. Yeah.
It would line up, especially considering these guys are from like the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And Hail Destruction, I think I mentioned this last week. The solo in that song is amazing. I wish it was a bit longer. And this is going to be an interesting comparison. I don't know if you'll agree or see it, but the start of this song reminds me of Fear Held Dear by Mushroom Head.
I'd have to hear it again to make the connection.
Yeah. It's like when it starts, I'm like hearing that song in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, it kind of lines up. So I thought that was kind of neat. So it's interesting, this album starts to kind of shift when you get to the second half.
So after Last Breath?
Yeah, Last Breath is where it kind of shifts. Like, Lost in Isolation is kind of where it starts. You introduce more of the female vocals into the mix. There hadn't been that much up to that point in the record. I do think it's good, and it serves a good purpose where it is. And I think that leading into Last Breath is a good transition to how the second half of the album is a little bit more on the melodic side overall. And it kind of gives the album a really transformative quality to it. Like, you're going through this journey, you start at this one place and you kind of end somewhere else. It's still the same album. It's not like it's two things stitched together. It all is coherent. It's just interesting to see that shift as it goes. And you kind of end up in a different place. And you're like, yeah, this is the same band, but like, whoa, where'd I end up? So I thought that was pretty cool. So we mentioned openers. Let's talk about closers. Unholy Armada, while not a bad song, I don't really feel like is the most effective closer that this album could have had.
You think there's better choices?
I feel that, like, having Emery be the ballad of the album and then Wartime right afterwards is kind of a good way, and a lot of bands do this. They'll have their penultimate song be the ballad, and then the last song is like the explosive go out with a bang song.
Yeah.
But to have Wartime effectively do that and then have it keep going with a song that kind of does a mix of stuff afterwards feels like it didn't really add much to the experience. Like, it could have ended with Wartime and it would have felt like a really cool, satisfying ending.
So I'll tell you why I don't think that's a good idea. I think Wartime as a song is fine, but the fact that it has a feature in it, I think kind of voids it for being an outro track. I don't know if that makes sense or not. I feel like it'd feel weird to have a feature on an outro track. It's kind of a weird. I don't even know why I feel that way, but I just feel like it wouldn't look proper.
I mean, I know it's not an album that you particularly like, but if you recall, I mean, this is years ago, Project Regeneration Volume 1 by Static X has the feature on the last track, Dead Souls.
Yeah.
I felt it was really effective. I thought that was a fantastic closer. I think a big part of it as well is because it feels right as a closer.
Maybe.
The feature didn't really matter, you know?
Yeah, I feel like the feature on this song goes unnoticed anyway on Wartime, Shadows Fall. It goes unnoticed. I mean, you can kind of hear a difference in there, but it didn't really feel like that effective of a feature.
Yeah, out of the features on this album, that one's probably the least effective.
That's right. I agree. So yeah, I had a kind of a mixed week with this album. You know, there's songs like you mentioned, "Dead But So Alive." I think it's a good song, but for me, the strengths are in the choruses. I like the choruses of the song. The rest of the song, I was like, I'm not so sure. But I do really love that female vocal at the end. That was a big highlight for me on the album through the whole week. That was a big highlight for me, just the end of that song. Then you take songs like "Lost in Isolation," where it's kind of the inverse. I really like the song, but the chorus just drags the song down like an anchor. Like I'm kind of having these weird relationships with these songs where I'm either liking a chunk of it and not liking some parts, or the other way around. Emery, I feel like hurts this album, and it's just I just feel like I don't want to say it's a bad song, but I really do believe they should have left it off here. You call it the ballad of the album. That's a fair point. It's a fair description of it, I guess. But I don't think it was needed here. I feel like there's enough softness on the other songs, enough kind of easy listening type of stuff that makes up for not needing this song. I don't think it needed to be there. And I think that hurts the whole album just having the song in there.
Do you think perhaps I know you don't feel like Unholy Armada needs to leave as a closer, but would this idea appeal to you? Removing Emery and switching Wartime and Unholy Armada, and having Wartime still be the closer, but that Unholy Armada is before it.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. I mean, I don't really have a problem with Unholy Armada being an outro.
Yeah, like I said, I know. Yeah. I was just curious if that
would be fine for me too.
Is an idea you would enjoy.
I would enjoy that. Yeah, that's fine. Speaking of Wartime, though, just because we're kind of talking about it already, I feel like other people are gonna like this song. I feel like it's gonna be like, if people in the comments let us know what their favorite tracks are. For some reason, I feel like people are gonna be gravitating towards Wartime. It's just a pass for me. I just couldn't get into that song either. So I want to talk about Last Breath, and I'm going to talk about my favorite tracks, the ones that I actually did really like. Okay. So Last Breath, we mentioned it. It's a minute and 47 seconds. It's just kind of chanting and some piano. Very nice, very well put together, but I had concerns with its length. Like, it's in the middle of the album, and it's a 2-minute long, basically, interlude that doesn't really do much. And sometimes when you're listening to an album over and over again, that can kind of get boring. And I was wondering, is this gonna be a skip track for me? It didn't. I felt like it was a good bridge. I felt like it actually sounds quite nice. There's a kind of a peacefulness to the track, and it's effective despite its simplicity.
Yeah.
So I feel like it did a good job.
Yeah, it's a great transitional track, especially because of how the album changes when you get into the second half. It's a really nice transitional point. Very pretty track. It's the kind of thing that you'd put in like a chill playlist, and it's really, really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's great.
So to go on to my favorite tracks of the album, we're going right after Last Breath into Path of Our Disease and I Am Resistance. Those two songs are the highlights of this album, with I Am Resistance taking the cake, featuring Comeback Kid. Easily, by far, without a shred of competition, I Am Resistance is the best song of this album to me. Nothing else on this album even comes close to it. Path of Our Disease, it feels like I Am Resistance is on its own island kind of thing.
Yeah.
On the rest of the island, or the rest of the shore, Path of Our Disease is the best song amongst the rest of the songs. Mm-hmm. And they both stand out to me in their own way.
And those are both the ones we reacted to as well.
That's very true. Now, we made the Carnifex comparison. So you made a Carnifex comparison. I said, yeah, that's probably likely because of how the timeline, whatever. I think if any song sounds like Carnifex, it's Path of Our Disease. I feel like there's parts in that, like there's certain chords they're playing, And I'm like, yes, I can hear Carnifex playing the chord like that.
You wouldn't agree with Our Brand is Chaos also being like that?
I can agree that it does sound like that, but I think if you had to pick one song to be like the Carnifex sounding one, it's that one, because it's got that like dun 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 kind of thing, and Carnifex does that sometimes. It also has some of that Cradle of Filth style, keys in there, which we commented on before, which I'm a big Cradle of Filth fan. I love that stuff, so I'm always going to be drawn towards that kind of sound as well.
And that's there throughout the entire album, too.
It is there through the entire album, but it's just more prominent on certain songs, certain parts. I really love the breakdown at the end of the song. Just overall, really, really good stuff. Actually, I made a comment last week that the verses don't match the choruses. You remember I said that?
Yeah.
I still feel that way. But it's not a negative. I just want to make that clear. If I didn't make that clear last time, I feel like that they kind of feel a little bit disjunct or juxtaposed.
But they're both good enough that it's
fun. But they still work.
Yeah.
Right? They still work. But I think there's something interesting there about it. I Am Resistance, though. I just love this song. It's so good. It's the feature on this song. I feel like it's a really good feature. You really hear the presence there. It really adds personality to the song and makes it sound different, which is something I'm always looking for in a feature. I want it to make the song sound different. Whereas Wartime doesn't sound any different than some of the other songs, even though it has a feature. I Am Resistance, so good. Forward moving energy, such high energy, very hardcore sounding. Mm-hmm. They're really tapping into that aspect of their sound and their kind of inspiration. And they just do such a good job. And it's just really, really good. The outro's sick. Just instant playlist song. I think I actually mentioned that last week too. It just went into the playlist right away and I couldn't stop listening to it. So yeah, overall my feelings were kind of topsy-turvy through the week listening to this album.
Yeah, I do feel that I Am Resistance is one of the strongest tracks as well. Like, to me, it kind of runs back the same vibe that Dead But So Alive has, which is a track I already love. So it's like, yeah, let's go again. Yeah. Do it again.
Yeah.
So that was quite a good track. Well, would you be interested in rating the album now?
We can rate the album. I guess I will go first. So, yeah, Bleeding Through, a band that we've checked out, or I've checked out a bunch before, but I don't know their whole discography. So I'm not really sure how this ranks on their albums, right? But I compare it to This Love, This Is Murderous, because that's my introduction / go-to for this band. I feel like that album's much stronger than this one. I think this one sounds a lot like it. I think that there's definitely parallels there, and I don't think they very deviated from their sound that much. I think it's pretty close. But there's just a lot of stuff on this album I felt like just felt boring and felt like it was just kind of going nowhere, despite the fact that there was some creativity there, and it felt like they were trying stuff, but it just felt like it was falling flat for me. Now, on the other hand, there's some strong points, which I've already mentioned, a whole bunch of them. So how do I rate the album, right? I'm kind of half and half. So it gets a 5, because that's the easiest way to rate it.
Right in the middle.
It's right in the middle. I mean, we also have a scoring system, and the score lands in a certain place, and that's where it landed. It landed at a 5. So it is how it is. So I wish I could give it a higher score. At the beginning of the week, I thought I was going to get a higher score, but it kind of just trickled down for me through the week. So
understandable. I mean, that's why we do things the way we do.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to really form your opinion.
That's right.
So as for myself, I think this album has a lot of variety in a lot of different places. I could comment, how much vocal variety is on this album. You get so many different things going on. It's lots of different harshes, lots of different cleans. You get so much, and it does not feel disjunct. I feel that, the guitars are cool, the drumming is tasteful, you got this wide range of stuff. I like the harmonic textures that are there, especially with the synth. Really, really nice. I feel that this album, though, it has really high highs, like the peaks are huge, but songs that don't reach the same peak don't really feel like as much, because now they're punching upwards trying to compete with songs that are amazing. However, I didn't feel like there was really much on this album I could complain about. It felt that, even though songs are not really comparing to the super duper high peaks, they're still good songs in their own right.
Yeah.
So it's close, but it does get my toe tag.
Wow.
So
pretty good.
It's a toe tag for me and a 5 from Vile Self, and that is all we got for this review of 9 by Bleeding Through. So let us know in the comments, what would you rate this album? What do you think a week after its release? Like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. I'm TV Fish.
I'm Vile Self.
See you guys later.